Son doesn't trust sick mom's carer. Sets up hidden camera. Mrs. Maria was spending her final days in a hospital due to an incurable lung disease that had caused her to lose her voice. Her son Jamie visited her frequently, and on one of these visits he noticed that his mother became uneasy when one of her nurses entered her room. Immediately, the man suspected that something bad was going on because his mother had appeared with bruises on her body, so he set out to discover the truth. If you haven't already done so, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell to be inspired by these real-life stories on a daily basis. Now, let's return to the story. He installed concealed cameras, and the results were shocking. Mrs. Maria is one of those unjust examples when individuals who don't smoke pay the price for those who do. She didn't have a voice, but her partners were chronic smokers, and she inhaled all that smoke for 30 years until her lungs collapsed. Maria was a poor girl who began working with her mother at a young age, collecting scrap metal in a cart along the city's main streets in order to sell it and earn money to feed herself and the lady's 2 other children who had been abandoned by her spouse. Maria never complained about her lot in life, so she worked hard with her mother and promised that one day she'd find a better job to support her and that she would stop collecting scrap metal. The lady simply smiled as she listened intently. A neighbor told Maria that the house where she worked needed someone to clean the bathrooms only, and that the pay was not insignificant, so the teenager went to work with her mother's permission, and the bosses saw that she was very efficient and hired her to do more general cleaning. She thus began to work, and as the years passed, the bosses had more confidence in her, to the point that they trained her to be a kind of assistant in the house. Maria was able to maintain her mother's promise of keeping her as a queen owing to that labor. The lady no longer went out of work, she had her food guaranteed, she'd improved the house, and in reality her level of life was extremely good. She even had enough to assist her siblings. Later, the house owner asked Maria to be a kind of friend, so the young girl began to frequent the social circle to follow the lady who purchased her wonderful outfits and shoes that she never believed she could wear, even if she wanted to. The lady introduced her to society as a niece of hers, and she almost always accompanied her. Because both the wife and the husband smoked, Maria began to inhale third-party smoke at a young age, and her lungs gradually became ill, despite the fact that she never had a cigarette in her mouth at social events to which she accompanied her employer. The son of some of the mansion's neighbors who fell in love with Maria but only deceived her, made her pregnant, and then vanished from her life. From that relationship, Jamie was born, for whom she worked for the rest of her life. Jamie studied academically and went on to become a wonderful veterinarian. He worked in the capital, but despite their distance, he was always conscious of his mother. When her lung disease was discovered, there wasn't much he could do, so he stopped working. When the medical problem progressed to her cough, which was becoming uncontrollable, the specialist recommended that she be admitted to the Chronic Pulmonary Diseases Sanatorium, where she could be better cared for. Jamie admitted her, and at first he was pleased with the care his mother received there. Until the lady lost her speech months later, Jamie began to observe her peculiar conduct every time Nurse Lucy arrived in her room. Jamie felt that Maria wanted to tell him something about it. When he arrived, he discovered his mother had bruises, and when the nurse entered the room, she grew agitated and attempted to speak. Jamie left the room immediately and went to the site manager to request that he examine the nurse. The doctor attempted to explain some things to him, but the guy was so enraged that he simply left the office and returned in the afternoon to see his mother without saying anything. Jamie couldn't believe it when he returned a week later and was told by the director that he had concealed cameras installed and that he wanted to look at the content of them. When they looked up the footage and records from the camera to the computer, Jamie couldn't believe it and began to cry. When Lucy, the nurse, arrived at the office, the man fell to his knees in front of her and wept without saying a word. In the video, the woman appeared and began pampering the lady, hugging her until she fell asleep, reading her stories, and even coming to look after her when she wasn't on her shift because she reminded her of her mother. Lucy had lost her mother 20 years before and thought she saw her in Miss Paquita. So she took special care of her, worrying about feeding her and staying with her even when she should have been at her own house resting for work. As a result, the lady was reassured when she saw her enter the room, and Jamie was deeply remorseful when he discovered that the bruises were caused by the lady falling out of the bathroom. Jamie not only apologized to Lucy, but he also gave her an extra salary. The important thing about this story is that taking care of another person can be both incredibly draining and amazingly rewarding. Most research on caregiving is focused on the benefits to the person receiving the care, but an emerging body of research suggests that, under the right circumstances, providing support also benefits caregivers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it with someone else who might enjoy it as well. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.